Violating the league's health and safety protocols. The violation occurred when he attended a private indoor party last weekend. Irving will forfeit salary for any games he misses due to his 5-day quarantine period, which will allow him to return to team activities tomorrow if he continues to test negative. He is expected to play against the Magic. So, guys, we should potentially see the big three there in Brooklyn for the first time tomorrow. What do you expect, Stephen A?
I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I mean, first of all, it's not what we see now this weekend. It's what we're going to see in the weeks to come. James Harden has been out of shape, so he's got to get himself in shape. And Kyrie Irving has been out for whatever reason, and now he's expected to come back. So James Harden's got to get his body together. Kyrie Irving has to get his mind together. Once that happens, then you see the big three on the court, and then you judge them as the big three. Right now, they're just individuals that are playing together. They're not necessarily a team. The only person that's been a consistent model of a teammate has been Kevin Durant at this particular moment in time. I believe in Harden personally. I know he's been taking a lot of hits and what have you, but he was just trying to get himself out of there, and we understand all of that. He doesn't engage in load management. He gives it to you. In the case of Kyrie Irving, those 5 games, Kyrie Irving in the 72-game season this year, guys, is getting paid $464,000 per game. So him being out or being penalized for these 5 games without pay is going to cost him in excess of $2.3 million. I hope it was worth it for him.
First, let me say, I hope Kyrie's personal life is in order. I hope he's okay. His loved ones are okay. If he's taking personal time and it's costing him millions of dollars, I hope he's okay.
I hope he's okay.
Genuinely. That's number one. Number two, guys, if these guys can get their egos on the same page, KD, James Harden, and Kyrie can all score at every level. At an elite level, at every level, long range. Harden doesn't shoot the mid-range, but certainly they can score mid-range and in the paint. And then you add Joe Harris, who's a better shooter than any of those guys. Like, that starting 5 is impossible. And I'm just looking forward to watch. I just want to see it. I hope Max, they can get on the same page because I want to see it.
Max, you know what I forgot about? You know what we both forgot to mention? Harden is going back to join Mike D'Antoni, who's Steve Nash's lead assistant. Totally forgot.
That's right.
Totally forgot. Totally forgot. I didn't even think about that until last night. He's back with Mike D'Antoni.
Interesting.
Loved playing for Mike D'Antoni.
They're going to score some points, Stephen A.
They're going to score some points. Nobody's going to stop them from scoring.
I mean,
they're going to score some points.
No question.
They should be the number 1 offense in the NBA, easily. Number 1, number 2, easily.
Yeah, starting unit's got to be number 1.
See? Talent's there. We'll see if the chemistry's there. Guys, we asked everybody at home, will Tom Brady pull off the upset? 58% of yous said yes. We shall see. I can't wait for Monday's show. I took notes on all your picks, so don't worry. I will be bringing them back up.
I ain't got confidence in any of my picks.
Stephen, you have a fabulous weekend. All right, let's go. We're going to rip through these. I'm going to say this stat one more time because I like it. Drew Brees, 5-2 all-time versus Tom Brady. The Saints favored by 3. Stephen A., will Brady pull off the upset?
I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say yeah. It would be an upset because they should not win this game. Not based on what we've seen New Orleans do to them in the 2 meetings this year. But I just find it hard to believe that Tom Brady's going to lose 3 times to the same team in the same season. I find that very, very hard to believe. And I think that I just look at, listen, I'm going to go, and Max, I'm not stepping out on a limb here. Just, Chris Godwin's got to be a 3rd option, 3rd or 4th option. Antonio Brown got to be that option. Mike Evans got to be that option. It got to be option number 1, option number 2. That's what it's got to be, okay? Because like you said, Antonio Brown, listen, we know he could be a head case. Hasn't been a head case since he arrived in Tampa. And we see why, because you see how Tom Brady just made sure he targeted Antonio Brown to make sure he got his $250,000 bonus a few weeks ago. This kind of stuff that Tom Brady be thinking about. This is why players love him so much. He made sure the brother got some extra dough. But in the end, here's the bottom line. Antonio Brown's all world. And if you've built that chemistry and you've got that connection with them, listen, you target him, you target Mike Evans, you run the football when you can, utilize Leonard Fournette a little bit more out of the backfield as well. I think that would be a good thing. I just think that in this particular game, with all these weapons that Tampa has accumulated, even though the Saints defense is no joke, I just think the manner in which they have handled Tampa in such lopsided fashion, I think every I is dotted, every T is crossed. If Tampa Bay got any kind of heart whatsoever, they show up, they fight, the game is close, and Tom Brady finds a way to be Tom Brady again. I think they pull an upset. It would be an upset, but I think Tampa, I ain't jumping off the bandwagon. I picked Tampa at the beginning of the season, and I'm going to roll with them now. Oh, can I give you a score? Can I give you a score? Can I give you a score?
Yeah,
37, 37, 33.
A lot of points.
Yes.
First, I want to address something Daniel Cormier said, because I think there's a big misconception out there that if you beat a team twice in the same season, it's harder to beat them the third time in the playoffs. In fact, the team that wins the 2 regular season meetings is twice as likely as the team who lost those meetings to win if they meet a third time. Twice as likely. They win 2 to every game they lose. So, in fact, it's easy to beat a team for the third time compared to being the team that's been beaten twice, upsetting the team that beat you twice. That's hard. So the Saints have, just statistically, if you want to look at history, the Saints are supposed to win. And let me say this to address your point about Antonio Brown. That's a good point. Antonio Brown, if he's back to being AB, is by far their best receiver. And how good is the receiving core? If you took AB off, they'd have one of the best receiving cores in the NFL. Their 2 top guys are ridiculously good. And AB's way better than them if he's at his best. And that's no knock on Mike Evans or Godwin or anyone. They're totally excellent. But AB is one of the best 5 receivers who ever lived if he's really AB. And maybe he's heading in that direction. And that does change the equation. But until I see that happen, I'm taking the Saints. They can get, what do you say? You get pressure on Tom Brady. It makes it hard for him, especially at his age and his lack of mobility and all that stuff. No quarterback likes pressure, but especially not Brady, and especially not at his age. And the Saints can get him. They can get pressure without bringing extra guys with their front 4. And that gives them an enormous advantage here. They beat him twice. I also think Breeze has more to play for than Brady here. I also think the diminished Breeze we've seen in the playoffs recently, we're going to see a rested Breeze because he had to recover from injury. He wasn't taking all those shots on the field. I like the Saints.
All right. I got it. I'm keeping notes here. Stephen A. is going with Brady. Max going with Breeze. No surprise on this one. Let's keep it rolling, guys. Kansas City is favored by double digits Sunday against Baker Mayfield and the Browns, who have been on the rise. Patrick Mahomes and the KC Boys coming off a week of rest from the bye. Max, tell me this. Do you think the Browns are more likely to get blown out or to keep this one close?
It's good. They're going to keep it close because even if the Chiefs can score in 60 seconds and it takes the Browns 6 minutes, if they're both scoring touchdowns, it's the same thing. It's still a tie game. You know, that's the idea of ball control, of dominating the clock, right? And you want to try and do that against the Chiefs. Baker Mayfield also shows if it's a shootout, he could put up score. Like they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They scored 24 points last game of the regular season. Then they faced them in an immediate rematch in the playoffs. And don't forget, the Steelers have a big psychological whammy over the Browns, right? In the playoffs, they put up 48. They doubled the total. When Baker had to throw touchdowns, he did it. When they have a running game, we know that. They have a dominant offensive line. 2 guys who can really run the ball in Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They are a really good team. And if you look at the Chiefs in between blowouts with the Chargers and the Jets were first day of November. Chargers were the last day of the regular season. Those are 2 teams so bad they fired their head coaches. In between, the Chiefs haven't beaten a single team by a touchdown, always less than a touchdown. So do I think they're going to beat the very good Browns team who can control the clock by more than, in a blowout? No, it won't be a blowout.
I respect the hell out of the Browns. I think Kevin Stefanski is a candidate for Coach of the Year. Can't say enough about what Baker Mayfield has turned into over the last several weeks. He deserves our respect. Jarvis Landry, I hold him primarily responsible for changing the culture in a good way in Cleveland. And you can't find a bigger fan of Nick Chubb than me. This brother's real. He's the real deal. But I think that this weekend, the Browns come crashing down to earth. I think that the Browns lose this game, and even though there's a shot, I don't believe it'll be close. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs will end up winning by at least 14 points. I think that they're going to pull away in the second half. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think Tyreek Hill, I think Travis Kelce and the crew are going to be entirely too much. The only shot, in my opinion, that the Browns have of even keeping this game close is if Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt go run roughshod and their ground game gains like 175 to over 200 yards rushing. That's the only shot. Other than that, I think Kansas City runs away with this game in very, very convincing fashion, reminding the Cleveland Browns, you're good, but there are levels to this, and you just ain't there yet. That's what I see this week.
Look, none of the following teams I'm going to mention are the Chiefs because no team is the Chiefs, so I get that. But if you look at the last 3 quality teams that they've played, and I know Pittsburgh had an injury on the defense that made a difference. I just said they put up 24 points in a win against Pittsburgh last game of the regular season, 48 points in a playoff win. And the 2 teams prior to the Pittsburgh game that you said those are good teams that they beat were a motivated Baltimore Ravens team, another, big brother team in the division, and it took heroics by Lamar Jackson to squeak by the Browns in that game. And before that, the Browns beat the Titans. You got to see how the Browns play quality teams. They are either beating them or losing close. I don't see a blowout here.
All right. Next one, guys. We got last year's